a matter that I would like to address. I know there's a lot of witnesses, so it's certainly not my intention to make things difficult by making a motion to sequester all the witnesses, but there are particular group of witnesses that I would make a motion to sequester that I anticipate will be coming pretty soon based on my conversation with Mr. Sachs. And those are the people who were at the, or involved in the assault. There were 3 people, as I understand, 3 people in one vehicle that describe that are the victim of the assault was the driver of. So those folks, I would ask that they be sequestered from the courtroom while the others are testifying about what happened during that assault. And there's a 4th witness that I don't know if the state intends to call as well. Actually, there's 5 potential witnesses that I think have been identified as potential witnesses that for that assault, what occurred during that assault, and one of those is in custody, so he's not a problem. The other 4 would be the 3 folks that were in the vehicle with the victim, and one of the Pablo Reyes, who was has been identified and as being in the vehicle in the truck. That was the other vehicle involved in the assault. So those folks, I'm not sure if the state intends to call Mr. Reyes, but I believe the 3 people in the victim's vehicle the state intends to call, and I would just ask that those witnesses not be present for each one of their testimony.
They're here now. I do anticipate we will be getting to that testimony relatively soon, so that's why I had them here this morning, but later in the morning. I'll leave that to the court's discretion. Obviously, no motion was made beforehand. We're now into the trial. So I'll just leave that to the court's discretion. It really doesn't, I guess, matter that much one way or the other for it. It's just logistic kind of issue, I guess.
Have each of these witnesses been interviewed and provided statements to law enforcement prior to today's date that's been turned over in discovery?
Yes, sir. In fact, 2 of them testified during the juvenile hearing, so there's a transcript, from the juvenile hearing in that. So, yes, and they were not sequestered during the juvenile hearing.
My immediate concern is that if you sequester some witnesses and not all witnesses, then you start drawing attention to certain witnesses, and you run the risk of jurors potentially thinking, well, why are these witnesses being treated differently? And perhaps that might lead somebody to give more or less significance to a particular piece of evidence. That's my initial concern. Did the state have anything else going on?
No, sir.
We aren't, if it's, and I wouldn't suggest necessarily the jury's going to know that is the situation or not at this point.
Well, they start figuring it out every time the staff goes out into the hallway and brings them in, and that's been my experience, is that they figure out that the witnesses are not being called from the gallery. They're being the DA staff has to go out into the waiting room to get them and bring them back in.
Well, if that's the issue, then I'd ask then I'll just move to. I'd ask to sequester all the witnesses from here on. Then, if that's the court's concern, even though that's not necessarily my concern, is because there's a lot of law enforcement witnesses, and I'm not necessarily trying to exclude them from the courtroom, but these are fact witnesses, eyewitnesses to, and they have given. I'm not sure if. I mean, they have given statements and they've been inconsistent, and I don't want. My concern is that if they get to sit and watch what each one of them say, then they're going to get their testimony consistent today, and I don't think there's witnesses beyond this group that these are the only eyewitnesses essentially involved in this case in any of the charges outside of Mr. Moises Reyes, who's in custody.
Yeah, I'll bring up 2 issues with that. First is, as we've already said, there have been prior statements and even testimony from these witnesses for that. If they get up here and they start changing their story to make each other consistent, I would think he would invite that because it's showing exactly what he's worried about, and it could go right to their credibility as whether they're making things up or changing their statements to fit in with whatever is needed to be said. So I would think he would that doesn't seem to me to be prejudicial to the defendant. It seems to be a benefit that he could use for impeachment purposes, for his thing. The other thing is, we had a motions deadline in this case. This is a pretrial motion that should have been made long before. I left it in the court's discretion because as just dealing with these 2 or 3, I think it was just going to be a logistical issue, but I think we could have dealt with it. But if we're not going to talk about all the witnesses and dealing with it, we have several witnesses who are here today. There are going to be several more coming in. We've set up to try this case. It's really going to slow things down if we've got to house all these people in different rooms in the courthouse and go get them. It's not that we can't do it. We certainly have done it before. But, we're past our motion deadline in this, and this is not something that was planned for before trial. I understand the concern. It just seems to me the concern has already been alleviated, and if they do change it, it actually is to the defendant's benefit. And so, because I know this is a motion that's in the court's discretion.
I've considered the statements and positions of counsel for the defense as well as counsel for the state, and in my discretion, I'm going to deny the request to sequester the witnesses. Were there any other matters we need to address before I bring in the jury?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. The jury are present, and we are ready to proceed. Mr. Sachs, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state will call Israel Pate.
And I'll ask the interpreter to please return to the witness stand.
Sir, if you would, please stand. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right.
Sobre la Biblia, levante la mano derecha.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
Nada
help you
más que la
God?
verdad y que Dios sea su testigo.
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you.
Vale.
May be seated.
Toma asiento.
Sí. Oh, sorry. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Puede proceder.
Sir, would you please tell this jury who you are?
Señor, por favor, dígale al jurado quién es usted.
Mi nombre es Israel Puerta.
My name is Israel Puerta.
And, sir, back in January of 2013, where did you live?
Señor, en enero del 2013, ¿en dónde vivía?
716 Colonia Drive.
716 Colonial Drive.
Okay. And what kind of building were you living in? Like, was it a house, an apartment? What kind of building?
¿Y qué tipo de edificio era donde usted vivía? ¿Era una casa, un apartamento? ¿Qué tipo de edificio?
Es un apartamento de los duples. Es un duple también.
It's an apartment. It's a duplex.
And do you know Patrocinio Ramirez?
¿Usted conoce a Patrocinio Ramírez?
Sí, él es mi hermano.
Yes, he's my brother.
Okay. And was he living near you on Colonial Drive back at that time in January of 2013?
Y en enero del 2013, en ese entonces, ¿él vivía cerca de usted?
Sí.
Yes.
How close?
¿Qué tan cerca?
50 pies separados los buildings.
5 feet separated from me.
So he's basically one of your next door neighbors?
I'm sorry, Judge, the interpreter needs to request repetition of something the witness said. Is that okay?
You may.
¿Usted dijo 5 pies o
No,
50?
50 pies separados.
Correction. It was 50 feet separated from you.
Was your brother basically one of your next door neighbors?
Entonces, básicamente, su hermano era uno de sus vecinos de al lado.
Sí,
Yes.
Back in the early morning hours of January the 5th, 2013, shortly after midnight, did you see your brother outside your place?
Y el día 5 de enero del 2013, en la madrugada, un poquito después de la medianoche, ¿usted vio a su hermano afuera de donde viven?
no,
No.
How about any time during that night, did you see your brother?
¿Y qué tal, a cualquier hora durante esa noche, usted vio a su hermano?
no, yo lo vi durante el día, la tarde, pero no una noche.
No, I saw him during the day, during the afternoon, but not at night.
Okay. Do you recall this incident that occurred on your street back in the early part of January the 5th, 2013?
¿Usted se acuerda de este incidente que sucedió en su calle el día 5 de enero del 2013?
Sí,
Yes.
And were you present on Colonial Drive in your residence when this incident happened?
¿Y usted estaba presente en su residencia en Colonial Drive cuando esto sucedió?
sí.
Yes.
Could you tell this jury then what you remember happening at that time?
¿Usted le puede decir al jurado de qué se acuerda usted que sucedió en ese momento?
Sí,
Yes.
Go ahead.
ok.
¿Está bien, díganos?
Ok, bueno, el tiempo no estoy seguro, eran 11:30, 12. Yo estaba en mi cuarto.
I was in my room. I don't remember the time correctly. I think it was 11:30 or 12. I was in my room.
Estaba mirando un programa de televisión.
I was watching a TV show.
Cuando estaba enfocado pues en el show, cuando de repente escuché como unos disparos.
I was focused watching the show when suddenly I heard like some shooting.
Okay, entonces salía por el lado de mi sala a ver qué pasaba,
And then I went outside from the side of my living room to see what was happening.
pero de hecho no salía hacia afuera, sino solo quise ver por la ventana cuando escuché el ruido de un carro que se alejaba a toda velocidad.
And actually I didn't go outside. I just checked through my window and I also heard a vehicle that was driving away at full speed.
Did you say at full speed?
¿A toda velocidad?
Podría decir que arrancó un poco fuerte, no normal, no de lo normal, arrancó fuerte.
You could tell that he took off somewhat fast, not normal.
And where were you when you saw this?
¿Y dónde estaba usted cuando vio esto?
Cuando vi eso estaba en la sala.
When I saw this, I was in the living room.
Were you looking out of a door or a window?
¿Usted estaba viendo hacia afuera de una puerta o de una ventana?
De una ventana.
A window.
What did you do after you saw that?
Y después de que usted vio eso, ¿qué hizo?
Regresé a mi cuarto, me puse mis zapatos y salí hacia afuera porque quería ver qué estaba pasando.
I returned to my room, I put my shoes on, then I went outside because I wanted to see what was happening.
Did you recognize the noises you heard as gunshots?
¿Y usted reconoció el ruido que usted escuchó como tiros de balas?
Sí.
Yes.
About how many gunshots did you hear?
¿Y como cuántos tiros escuchó usted?
Podía ser unos 4, 3 a 4.
4, maybe 3 to 4.
What happened after you went outside?
¿Y qué pasó cuando usted salió?
Okay, cuando salí hacia afuera le hablé a mi hermano porque le dije, oye, escuchaste algo como disparos.
When I went outside, I called my brother and I asked him, did you hear what I heard, like it was somebody shooting?
When you called him, was that on the phone or was that in person?
Cuando usted
Sorry.
le llamó por teléfono o en persona?
En persona.
In person.
Le grité porque le digo, están los violentos tan cercas. Grité un
Interpreter needs
fuerte.
to request that he repeat what he said. Is that okay, Your Honor?
You may.
Repita lo que dijo, señor.
Okay, le grité un poco fuerte qué estaba pasando para que me escuchara porque los buildings están separados.
The buildings are separated, so I just screamed at him kind of loud so he would hear what was happening.
Let me interject. Do you speak some English or understand some English?
¿Usted
Poquito.
A little bit.
Poquito.
It's very important that you let the lawyer ask a question, whether it's Mr. Sachs or Mr. Cutler,
Es muy importante que usted deje que el abogado, ya sea el señor Sachs o el señor Cutler, haga la pregunta
and then let the interpreter interpret that question,
y luego le permita al intérprete que interprete esa pregunta
and then you respond.
y luego usted responde.
Lo siento.
I'm sorry.
That way we can keep everything straight. And if you'll just take your time between the questions and the
Y
interpreter.
de esa manera podemos mantener todo bien y así nada más espera la pregunta entre usted y el intérprete.
Ok, lo siento.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And I was going to ask that as well. Do you
También yo le
speak a
iba-
little English?
También yo le iba a preguntar lo mismo. ¿Usted habla un poco de inglés?
No mucho, mi inglés no es muy bueno, pero trato.
Not too much. My English is not too good, but I try.
Okay. But is Spanish your native language?
Pero entonces, el español es su lengua natal?
Sí,
Yes.
And are you more comfortable speaking in Spanish?
¿Usted se siente más cómodo hablando en español?
sí.
Yes.
Okay. So after you yelled out for your brother, what happened?
Y después de que usted le gritó a su hermano, ¿qué sucedió?
Le digo, oye, escuchaste un ruido como disparos, ¿qué está pasando?
I asked him, did you hear some noise as somebody is shooting? What's happening?
At this point, could you see your brother?
Y en ese momento usted podía ver a su hermano?
Sí,
Yes.
Where was he?
¿En dónde estaba?
sobre la yarda, enfrente de su casa.
In front of his house, on the yard.
Is it dark outside at this time or daylight?
¿En ese momento estaba oscuro o era la luz del día afuera?
Estaba oscuro.
It was dark.
Did anyone come out of your brother's place besides your brother?
Y aparte de su hermano, ¿alguien más salió de la vivienda de su hermano?
No,
No.
And were you here earlier when your brother testified?
¿Usted estaba aquí hace un rato cuando su hermano testificó?
sí,
Yes.
And is that the same person we're talking about, Patrocinio Ramirez, who testified before you?
¿Y esa es de la misma persona que estamos hablando, el que testificó antes de usted, Patrocinio Ramírez?
sí.
Yes.
What happened when he came out of his place?
¿Y qué sucedió cuando él salió de su vivienda?
Bueno, fui a ver a mi hermano y cuando le digo, oye, ¿qué está pasando? Si oye ruido fuerte, dice, sí, dice, al parecer fue aquí al lado.
When I went outside, I went to see my brother and I asked him what was happening.
And what happened then?
¿Y luego qué sucedió?
Caminamos un poco hacia el otro apartamento.
We walked a little bit towards the other apartment
And then,
Luego.
Y escuchamos llorar un niño.
and then we heard a child cry.
Entonces yo tenía mi teléfono y llamé al 911.
Then I had my phone with me and I called 911.
is that a cell phone?
¿Ese es un celular?
Sí,
Yes.
When you called 911, did you speak to them in English or Spanish?
Cuando usted llamó al 911, ¿usted habló en inglés o en español?
en inglés porque traté de decirle algo que necesitaba ayuda.
In English, and I tried to tell them that I needed help.
Were you still on the phone with 911 when the police officers started to arrive?
¿Y usted continuaba hablando por teléfono con 911 cuando la policía comenzó a llegar?
Sí, entonces me pusieron un intérprete y ya más o menos expliqué lo que estaba pasando.
Yes, and then they put an interpreter on and I somewhat explained to them what was happening.
Y es cuando ya vimos dos patrullas que se acercaron, entonces me dijeron, aléjense del área.
Yes, and that's when we saw some patrol cars arriving and they told us to stay away from that area.
Y es todo.
And that's all.
When you say they put an interpreter on, you're talking about on the phone line?
Y cuando usted dice que le pusieron un intérprete, ¿se refiere en la línea telefónica?
Sí.
Yes.
What happened to the child that you heard crying in that apartment?
¿Y qué le pasó al niño que usted escuchó que lloraba en ese apartamento?
El niño estaba llorando, entonces como mi hermano dijo, tenemos una vecina, ella entró por él.
And the child was crying, and like my brother said, we have a neighbor, and the neighbor went inside to get him.
What happened when the neighbor went inside to get him?
¿Y qué sucedió cuando la vecina entró por él?
Lo agarró porque estaba llorando y lo cobijó con la cobija que le dio mi hermano.
She grabbed him because he was crying and then covered him with the blanket that my brother gave her.
After those officers arrived, did you stay on the scene and try to talk to them as well?
Y después de que la policía llegó, ¿usted se trató de quedar en la escena para hablar con ellos también?
Sí, nada más tuve como un par de minutos y después me dijeron aléjense del área. Ahorita los vamos a investigar.
Yes, I was just there for a couple of minutes and then they told us to stay away from that area and that after that we were going to be investigated.
Did you end up talking to them at a later time?
Y después, ¿usted habló con ellos?
Un poco, porque no hablaba yo bien el inglés y no español. Después llegaron alguien que hablaba español.
A little bit because I didn't speak too much and then after that somebody who spoke Spanish arrived.
A police officer who spoke Spanish?
¿Un policía que hablaba español?
Sí.
Yes.
At that time, did you tell them what you remembered and what you're telling us here today?
Y en ese momento usted le dijo a él de lo que se acordaba y lo que nos está diciendo el día de hoy?
Sí.
Yes.
When you were in the front yard with your brother, could you see in the door of that apartment?
Y cuando usted estaba en el patio de enfrente con su hermano, ¿usted podía ver adentro de ese apartamento?
Sí miraba algo porque la puerta estaba medio abierta.
Yes, you could see something because the door was somewhat open.
What did you see?
¿Y qué vio usted?
El señor que estaba sentado en el sofá
I saw the man that was sitting on the sofa.
y cuando vi el niño que estaba... Sorry.
Tell them it's okay,
Está
take
bien,
your time.
toma su tiempo, está bien.
Sorry.
Please let him know there's water there if he needs
Hay
some.
agua si usted gusta tomar tu agua. Y también agua, sí, 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 sí.
Está bien, gracias. Lo que pasó fue que la tristeza del niño que me dio.
What hit me was the sadness of the child.
What was the child doing?
¿Qué estaba haciendo el niño?
Estaba llorando y abrazado de su papá.
He was crying, hugging his father.
Was this before the neighbor went in to go get him?
Y eso fue antes de que la vecina entrara por él.
Sí, sí,
Yes.
eso fue antes.
Yes, it was before.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anything further.
Gracias, señor. Ya no tiene más
Mr.
preguntas.
¿Es todo?
Vamos a decir otro abogado.
Ujú.
Good morning, Mr. Pate.
Buenos días, señora Pérez.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Do you recall if there were people, do you recall who lived in that duplex prior to the family that was living there at the time this happened?
Señor, ¿se acuerda usted quién vivía en ese duplex antes de esa familia, antes de que eso sucedió?
No, no.
No.
Do you remember telling the police that some gang members had lived there prior?
¿Se acuerda usted si usted le dijo a la policía que unos pandilleros vivían ahí antes?
No, no recuerdo.
No, I don't remember.
Did you see the vehicle that you heard leave?
¿Usted vio el vehículo que usted escuchó que se fue?
No.
No.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm clear about that.
Sí, pues una pregunta, no quiero saber qué historia. Bien.
When you looked out your living room window, did you see this vehicle as it left the scene?
Cuando usted vio por la ventana de su sala, ¿usted vio este vehículo que se iba de la escena?
No vi el vehículo, simplemente escuché el ruido que se alejaba.
No, I did not see the vehicle. I just simply heard the noise as it was going away.
Okay. And could you tell which direction it was going?
¿Y usted podía darse cuenta en qué dirección iba?
Del lado donde yo estaba podría ser derecha.
From the side that I was in, it could be the right.
Would that have been towards Old Stage Road?
Hubiera sido como hacia Old State Road?
Sí.
Yes.
Thanks, I don't have anything else.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you, sir.
You may call your next witness.
You're on the stand, we'll call Brian Paget to the stand.
Sir, if you would please stand, place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and none but the truth, so help you God?
You may proceed.
Good morning, sir, still. Would you please tell this jury who you are?
Sure, my name's Brian Paget.
And Mr. Paget, how are you employed?
Currently,
Yes, sir.
I work with Validic and sales.
Okay. And what kind of company is that?
We are a health IT software company.
Okay. And where are you, I guess you're employed? Where is this job that you work at?
In Durham.
Okay. Back in January of 2013, how are you employed then?
I worked for Investment Management Corp., which owns Golden Corral.
Okay. And what did you do for Golden Corral?
A lot of stuff. At the time, I was assigned to, we were getting ready to open a new store in Garner. We just opened a new store in Garner.
Okay. And where was that store?
It was right off Tryon Road, just actually in Raleigh was the address, right on the border of Raleigh and Garner.
Okay. And I would assume, is that Golden Corral still there today?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what were you the manager of that store?
I was, yes.
Okay. Did you know Jose Mendoza Flores?
I did.
Did you know Maria Nativi Saravia?
I did.
How did you know them?
I met them both when I was first assigned. So I said we were opening, that was the store we were opening. We met in 2011. I believe it was around August. I was assigned from a different location to what used to be the old Golden Corral in Garner on kind of where it splits thereafter. I can't remember the exact address. I met them both then. There was a small staff there. It was an older store, a lot smaller, and they had been employed there well before I started. So that's how I met them.
Okay. When you got the new store ready for business, did they come over to the new store from the old one?
I did, yes. Yeah, I think it was in February of 2012.
And what did they do for you all at the Golden Corral?
They were employed in, kind of, we have a front of house, back of the house, so they'd be in the kitchen, the back of the house, both of them.
Do you know what their specific tasks or assignments were there?
Sure, yeah. Maria was in what we call our prep area, so she was responsible. And she also worked in our hot cook, but worked as a hot cook. So they did she did two tasks. So she worked in prepping the food and preparing it to cook, and then also cooking it. And then Samuel primarily worked with cooking the food.
And Samuel, that's what you all knew Jose by, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. His actual name being Jose Samuel Mendoza Flores?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, you said he was a cook?
Yes, sir.
All right. Back on Friday of January the 4th, 2013, do you know, were you still employed as the manager there at that Golden Corral?
I was, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know whether or not Maria and/or Jose worked during that day of January the 4th, 2013?
I definitely remember Jose working that evening. I can't recall right now if Maria worked that morning. It was pretty common for them not to work at the same time.
Do you know why that was?
So it was unusual because, no, not that. It was unusual to give a lot of flexibility with schedule because we had just opened up. We were very busy, but they were key employees and had been with us a while. And I believe Maria specifically wanted to make sure that she could, be at home while Samuel was working, and then vice versa. So a lot of times they kind of pass off so that one of them were with the children.
That's something that she had explained to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked often, yeah.
And were you working then that evening of Friday, January the 4th of 2013?
I was, yes. I was the only manager there that evening, I believe.
And you said that you know that Jose or Samuel was working at that time?
Yeah, he was he closed that night with me.
Okay. Do you know what time it was that he was able to finally leave and work or clock out from work at that time?
The exact time I don't. I know it would have been after 11, maybe right before 12, right in there.
And is that the last time that you saw Jose?
It was, yes.
The next day, on Saturday, January the 5th of 2013, did you have some deputy sheriff's office contact you?
Yeah, kind of unfortunately, my schedule had ended up, I closed and opened, so I was back at the store. I left after midnight, and then I was back at 6 in the morning. I can't remember if it was right away after we opened, but it was relatively soon, maybe before we were open, but we were there. I believe it was Officer Barefoot came and spoke with me.
You recognize Investigator Barefoot here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did he want?
Kind of, at first was just questions. He really couldn't, he asked me, where, and I was kind of obviously asking questions back, why do you want to know, what's going on? So I think he was just asking when Samuel had left work or if he had worked, and if maybe asked some questions about Maria. I don't remember exactly all the questions.
Were you able to provide that information for him?
Yes, I feel like I answered all the questions I could. I mean, we reviewed some security camera footage from the night before showing Samuel clock out and leaving the restaurant.
So were you using that to kind of give Investigator Barefoot an exact time as best you could tell?
I think, yes, sir, exactly. That was pretty much the gist of what we talked about.
Thanks, sir. I don't have anything else around.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank
You may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State will call Deputy Raymond Bruner.
So if you would place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right, do solemnly swear the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Would you please tell this jury who you are and what you do for a living?
My name is Deputy Bruner. I work with the Wake County Sheriff's Office, and I am currently assigned to the Special Operations / Canine Unit.
Back on January the 5th, 2013, were you still employed with the Wake County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
Was your assignment the same then as it is today?
Yes, sir.
In those early morning hours of Saturday, January the 5th, 2013, did you have the occasion to respond to a scene for assistance or for help at 708 Colonial Drive here within Wake County?
Yes, sir.
Basically, where is 708 Colonial Drive located?
Directly off of Old Stage Road, which is off of 401 Highway in Garner. It's a Raleigh address, I believe,
Okay.
but it's out in the county.
All right. So would that be south of downtown here?
Yes,
Where
sir.
we are now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was the nature of that call that you responded to go to 708 Colonial Drive?
I believe it came out as a possible shooting, or someone was possibly shot.
Okay. What did you see when you arrived on the scene?
I was at the intersection of 401 and Old Stage Road, the Circle K gas station right there, when it came out. So I was probably not even a mile and a half, 2 miles from the scene. Another deputy that was with me, Deputy Bordeaux, we proceeded to the address. I was looking for any type of speeding vehicles. It was since I was so close to the area, just to make sure that I had seen anybody come flying off of Colonial Drive or down Old Stage Road in an apparent rush.
Did you see anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay.
When
What did you do?
I proceeded to 708 Colonial. When I arrived, there was, I believe, the last two witnesses that were standing outside. An American white female was standing outside holding a baby or toddler. That was, I guess, come to find out, Jacob, I believe, afterwards. She told me that, hurry, somebody was down.
Let me just remind the jury that this statements made by that witness that are coming in through this witness may be considered by you for two reasons only. There's hearsay statements, but they can be considered, number one, to show what he did as a result of hearing them and what actions he took after hearing this statement. And also, that statement is subject to that witness's later testimony and being corroborated by that witness when they testify.
Continue.
Yes, sir. So, so you met up with this lady with the toddler in the front yard?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? And you had a chance to talk to her?
I was in the zone of getting to the address, seeing there was a door opened at that address, and I remember her saying, hurry, that somebody was down. I told everybody that was outside to get back so that I could clear the residence, because I wasn't sure if there was anybody, suspects or anybody, inside the building, so safety purposes.
Okay, before we go further.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's obvious, but in case it's not, would you please explain to the jury what you mean by clearing the residence?
Basically, if we have an active shooter situation type, or if we're not sure exactly who is suspects or who is victims, we basically try to go in and, for our safety, clear the residence as far as checking each room to make sure that there's no other suspects or victims that we can't see when we first initially enter.
Did you do that in this case?
Yes, sir.
And was anyone with you when you did that?
Yes, sir.
Who was with you?
Deputy Bordeaux.
Okay. How did you all do that?
Basically, we went in. It was a fairly easy residence to clear. As soon as you walked in the door, I believe you ended up right inside the living room area, and you can see directly through the living room into the kitchen. So when we went in, we cleared the living room. That's when I noticed I believe Jose was lying on the couch he's succumbed to, obviously, gunshot wounds. He was laying on the couch with a blanket over him as he was relaxing. Apparently looked like he was relaxing.
And did you know his name was Jose at that point?
No, sir.
Okay, that's something you learned later?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's fine.
It looked like he didn't have time to react. He just laying there with a blanket over him with the TV on, which was to my immediate right as I walked in, so it was up against the outside wall. Noticed him, and I noticed a female just inside the kitchen, laying on the floor face down with gunshot wounds also. Then myself and Deputy Bordeaux, once you entered the kitchen, there was a hallway, I believe, to your left, to where then there was a bathroom and a couple other rooms. We cleared those. It was a little bit hard to see because there was still a lot of smoke That's how quick we got there. There's a lot of smoke from the amount of bullets that were shot. I noticed on the way out lots of empty rounds laying on the ground. Looked like a couple different calibers, a handgun and an assault rifle. We checked all the rooms to clear those, checked the blankets, moved the blankets by the beds because I noticed there was a children's room there just to make sure there wasn't anybody under any of the blankets and the closets. When we determined that the house was clear and safe, I radioed to the responding units that I was told outside there was possibly a darker vehicle or I believe it was a maroon, it says a maroon van, to be on the lookout for that because I didn't see anything on my way there.
So were you able to eventually either relay that information or go look for this van?
I was able to relay it to units that were coming to the scene. I advised them which direction myself and Deputy Bordeaux had come from, letting them know I didn't see any vehicles. I don't believe I saw any actually on the way down there, and that it possibly went the opposite way on Old Stage Road, away from 401.
You talked about this smoke that was in the air in the residence. Do you have, to be certified, to be a law enforcement officer, do you get firearms training?
Yes, sir.
And in that training, do you yourself have to fire weapons and be around weapons that
Yes,
fire?
sir. Yes, sir.
And could you tell when you were in that residence, the smoke, could you tell whether or not that was the result of a gun being fired in that residence?
Yes, sir. More so from my military experience.
Okay.
That amount of gunfire in a small area. When we do a lot of shooting with the agency, it's not, it's a couple rounds here, a couple rounds there, where it doesn't build up a lot of smoke. And we're in a bigger area, so it disperses. Military training, where we did training clearing houses and clearing buildings, it was similar more to that, to where it was a lot of firepower in a short period of time, to where so much smoke from the gunpowder burning builds up. It was just swirling in the air.
Does it have any kind of distinctive odor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Which branch did you serve in?
Army.
As you cleared the scene, did you find anyone else who was inside that residence?
No, sir.
Did you, when you were inside the residence, check to see if either the person on the couch or the lady on the floor in the kitchen, whether they were needed medical attention or anything like that?
It was obvious that there was no help for them, basically, that I could see. I checked visually, and then as I was finished clearing the house, I believe EMS was pulling up, and I advised them of what I saw, and then they went in, I believe, just to confirm.
And did they confirm what you saw?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. So I don't have anything further.
Excuse me. Mr. Cutler.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Deputy Bruner.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall specifically who provided you information about the vehicle?
I believe it was the white lady that was out there holding the toddler, because I believe she was the only one that spoke any type of English to where I could understand. And
All right. And so you would have gotten there, from the time you got the call, you would have gotten there in just a few minutes, is that?
yes, sir. I believe under our system that we have, when I'm dispatched a call, it marks a time, and then when I arrive on a call, it marks another time. So it's not always going to be exact, but I think it had me down as about 4 minutes.
What times did you, if you recall, what
I
time
don't
did
have
you?
those times. I'm not sure. It wasn't marked down. I believe the call came in around, I say 00:15, but 12:15 in the morning on the 5th.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Sykes?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You can step down.
Yes, sir.
You may call your next witness.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You're on the statement called David Gonzalez. Sam?
So if you would please stand, place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Would you please, I'm going to ask you to speak loudly and clear to that microphone, okay?
Okay.
Would you please tell this jury who you are?
My name is David Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez, is there a nickname that you're known by?
Sancho.
Mr. Gonzalez, do you know Jonathan Santillan?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know Pablo Reyes?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Pablo Reyes?
He had came to in the building where I used to live at, sell me a tattoo machine.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
It was probably like during the summertime, going into fall.
Of which year, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's do a little reference here. Were you present that occurred back in December of 2012?
No, I wasn't living there.
Okay, I'm sorry, but were you present at the time that that shooting took place when your uncle, Mr. Hernandez, was shot?
Yes.
Okay. In relation to that time, that December shooting, how long had you known Pablo Reyes by that?
Probably like a year.
And back in December of 2012 and January of 2013, where were you living at that time?
At that time I was living on 868 Green Pine Drive.
And drive located?
Off of Old Stage.
To Colonial Drive?
Probably like 3 minutes, like just off the road. It's just like one street next to.
Are you familiar with Colonial Drive?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever lived on Colonial Drive before?
Yes, sir.
When did you live on?
I had moved in, and during that time I was just renting a room, and I probably had lived there almost like half a year. I didn't really live there that long.
Again, do you know what year this is that you're there?
No, sir.
Let's think about again using the reference. Was it the same year that the shooting took place?
Before.
Okay, so that would be.
Sir.
When Pablo sold you that tattoo machine, was that on Colonial Drive?
Yes, sir.
Was it actually in that same address of 708 Colonial Drive?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Tell us how that transaction took place there.
Well, he was just coming out walking. I wouldn't even know why would he be walking, but he had came walking to the apartment, and he had came and he had told me if he was selling a tattoo machine, if he asked me if I wanted it, and I was like nah, because I already had my own. So after that, he just left.
Did he come into your place there at 708?
Yes, sir.
Is this the first time that you had ever met Pablo?
No.
How long had you known Pablo before that?
A year or so.
How did you originally meet Pablo?
Just like on the streets.
Did you know whether or not Pablo was either a member of or associated with any kind of gang?
Yeah, at that time I did know.
Okay. What gang was he associated with?
PRS.
What does that mean?
In Spanish it's called Perros 13.
Okay. Is that a subset of a larger gang?
You can say that.
Okay. What larger gang would that be?
Um, it's, it's not familiar with like I guess 13. That's like a big gang thing.
Is that the Serranos 13?
Yeah.
Okay, what are the Serranos 13?
They're like let's say like Bloods and Crips, but they're like blue flags.
That's the color that they
Yeah.
fly, in other words?
Mhm.
Is that mainly a gang with Hispanic members?
You can say that Hispanics.
Okay. Are you a member of that gang?
No, sir.
Okay. Were you involved in any kind of gang yourself back then in 2011 and 2012?
Yes, sir.
What gang were you involved in?
BDM.
Okay. Is that B as in boy or V as in Victor?
Victor.
Okay. What does BDM stand for?
Very dangerous Mexicans.
Okay. And how long had you been a member of that gang?
Ever since I was like 16,
Okay. And how old are you now?
23. About to be 23 this year.
Back in the time of that shooting that happened back in December of 2012, how old were you at that point?
I think I was 20.
Okay. So you believe you had been in your gang for about 4 years or so by this point?
Yeah.
Your gang, the VDM gang, is that part of a larger group or a bigger gang?
No, it's just ours.
Okay. Just a local group?
Yeah.
Do you know Jose Juan Alvaro Hernandez?
Yes, sir.
And I think, do you see him here in the courtroom today, right now with you?
Yes, sir.
How do you know him?
He's relative.
How's
Kind
he
of,
related? I'm sorry.
you can say like an uncle.
Okay. Is that a blood relation, or is it just he's that close to you? Back in December of 2012, were you living with Mr. Hernandez on Green Pine Drive?
Yes, sir.
How many people were living at residence with you there on Green Pine Drive back then in December of 2012?
You can say like at least 5 people.
Okay. Who's there?
At
Your house?
my little brother, myself.
And Mr. Hernandez? Is one of your sisters Celia Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
And I believe she's here with you as well today, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
On the night of December the 4th, 2012, did you get involved in an incident that resulted in a shot?
Yes, sir.
For a moment here, can you tell this jury about what time that was when this happened?
It was probably like around, you could say nighttime, like around 7 or 8.
PM?
Yes, sir.
Was it dark outside or light?
It was dark.
Okay. And who was with you when this incident happened?
At that time, it was just Juan Hernandez in the car.
And
We were in the 94,
remember what color that car was?
like a sky blue.
And what were y'all doing?
We were about to go laundry.
Where did you have to go to do laundry?
We were just planning to go on this laundry called American Laundry, something like that. It was off 401.
Is that a laundromat that y'all usually did your laundry at?
Sometimes, or not either at home, but when it was more laundry, we would just go to a big laundromat.
And that's why I was going to ask, why weren't you doing the laundry at home?
It was just too much clothes. So it was like the whole family clothes.
So when you went to go do laundry, was it just your laundry, or were you doing everybody in the household's laundry?
Everybody in the household.
So what happened when y'all got in the car to go to the laundromat?
Well, we were waiting for, it was just going to be my mom, my sister, and I going to laundry, but since Juan Hernandez had came from work, he was just barely getting off from work. I just decided to tell my mom, just stay back home, and Juan would just go with us and take us. And then after that, we were sitting in the car, he had went back in the house to go because he had forgotten his wallet. So he went back inside to go get it. And after that, he just came back. He was coming back. I heard my name called out, my nickname called out.
Sancho?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where was it called out from?
From a white truck.
Where was this white truck?
Coming through the street or the entrance.
Is this on Green Pine Drive?
Yes, sir.
Green Pine Drive actually is kind of like a U or a horseshoe kind of shaped street. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So it actually comes out on Old Stage Road twice, correct?
Yes.
When you heard your name called out from this truck, was the truck moving or was it stopped?
It was moving.
Okay. Could you tell, first of all, did you recognize that truck?
No, sir.
Who's with you at the time that your name was called out?
It was just my sister and Juan.
Okay. Which sister?
Celia.
What happened after your name was called out?
The truck just went by and I just kind of turned back since I was inside the car, in the vehicle, in the back seat.
Did the truck stop?
No, sir.
Okay. So it just kept driving by?
Yes, sir.
What happened then?
After that, I had told him, Juan, just to back up and go towards the car where the truck was going, just to find out who it was. And by that time that we had went towards the corner, the truck already had came back in reverse, going back the same direction it came from. So what Juan did was he reversed all the way to the main street on Old Stage, on the same position, just reversing all the way back to the main street.
Okay, let's make sure we're clear about what you're talking about here. So, who's driving the car you're in?
Juan.
And were you the one who told him to go in the direction of where the truck went to see who called your name?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when you pulled out, when y'all pulled out to go start looking for the truck right then, did you see the truck at that point?
No, sir.
Okay, so after you start going in that direction, do you then see that truck coming back towards you all?
Yes, sir.
All right. At the point, so are you all actually facing each other, like headlights to headlights?
Yes, sir.
All right. What happens at that point when y'all are facing each other?
Nothing really happened. We just didn't see anybody, and so we were just reversed all the way back to the main street.
Okay. Is there a particular reason why you just didn't like turn the vehicle around to go out forwards?
Because it was just like in a way like pursuing us.
Who was pursuing you?
The white truck.
Okay. Was it coming at you all at a fast rate?
You can say that in a way.
Okay. But this was the truck that you said that you wanted to go see who was calling your name, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did anybody get out of either your vehicle or the truck at the time that y'all met up on your street on Green Pine Drive?
No, sir.
So what happened after Juan started backing your car back up?
He just went back to the main street on Old Stage, and after the Old Stage, there's a street like right ahead, Mellow, and I'm just like on your left side. So we just went down the hill and reversed.
Okay. Why were y'all going there?
To see if the truck was still gonna follow us.
Now that wasn't where y'all needed to go for the laundromat, was it?
No, sir.
So if you thought this truck was pursuing you, why did you go someplace like that?
It was just like close to our house, and we could have just see if it was following us or not.
What happened when you got down that street?
We went down the street. We had made a U-turn and turned back around, so the headlights was facing towards Old Stage.
Whose headlights?
The car, our car.
Your car? Okay. The street that you turned off of Old Stage, so you took a left off of Old Stage, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. Is there a little hill on that street?
Yes, sir.
Right. So did you go over the hill?
Yes.
When you come down off the hill, does that street then kind of dead end into another street?
It's like a dead end. It's just straight away. You can either make a left or right.
All right, but you can't keep going straight.
No, sir.
Is that where y'all did your U-turn?
Yes, sir.
When you made your U-turn so that your headlights are now facing back towards Old Stage Road, did you see the white truck?
Yeah, the white truck was still following us. It was barely coming down the hill.
Okay. So what happened at that point?
At that point, the truck had went next to our side of the car, side by side, in a way, just like the block in. And after that, all I remember was that they were asking for my name to see if I was there in the car or not. They were asking Juan, and Juan was the one replying to him. It's like, why you don't need him? That's like that they were looking for Sancho, this and that. And we didn't really say anything. Juan was just asking, like, why was he looking for Sancho, why he needed him, or why he wanted him.
Let's talk about that for a little bit. Did the truck, you said the truck came down, did the truck actually pull in front of the vehicle that you were in?
Not in front, like headlights to headlights, no.
Okay. But I thought you had used the word block. Did that truck block you all in?
Not really. You kind of could say blocking in because we were like right at the edge on the street or on the road.
But was there enough room for you to get that vehicle around the truck if you wanted to go back to Old Stage Road?
Yes, sir.
All right. And at this time, is it dark or is it light outside?
Dark.
And at the time that the truck stopped, are you all still in your vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who's driving the vehicle?
Juan.
Where are you located?
Driver, passenger seat.
Front or back?
Front.
Where is your sister still with you?
Yes, sir.
Is this your sister Celia?
Yes, sir.
Where is she located?
She was in the back seat.
Do you know which side?
On the right side.
So that's the back passenger side?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Or
Yes.
It's only for the court reporter. You
Yeah.
have to take down a real answer. And how about all the laundry that y'all were going to do? Where was all that located?
All the laundry was on the back seats.
Okay. In back with Celia?
Mm-hmm.
Again, you have to say yes or no.
Oh, yes.
When the truck stopped, could you see anyone get out of the truck?
At that time, I didn't see anybody getting out the truck, but all I was just hearing, like, the name Trigger. They were calling him out to get out the truck. And after that, Juan had got out the car to see what they wanted.
Okay, so that's what I want to clear up. You keep jumping ahead a little bit. So first of all, who is Trigger?
Trigger is Pablo Reyes.
Okay. Is that just another nickname that you knew Pablo by?
Yes, sir.
When the truck first stopped and they were calling, you said that they were calling your name. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Was anybody outside of the truck at that time, or were they all still inside the truck?
I think they were already outside the truck.
Okay. How many people came out of that truck?
At first, I had seen just one on driver's seat, and one had came back, pulled up behind the truck, coming around the truck.
So that's two people?
Yes.
Okay. The driver that got out of that truck, where did that driver go?
No, he was just standing right behind the door, or in front of the door.
Okay. How about the other person that got out of the truck? Where did that person go?
He just went around the truck and came to our driver's side, or the driver's side.
What happened when that person got to the driver's side?
All I seen is just that they were going into it, like, I guess, a fight.
Okay. Who was going into it?
Juan and the driver from the white truck.
And when you said they were going at it, what do you mean?
Fighting.
Fist fighting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the point that this fist fight broke out, had you seen any weapons?
Yes, sir.
What weapon did you see?
I couldn't really see, but it was like a silver one. Since I looked a little bit on my guns, probably like a 38.
It was a silver what though?
Revolver.
Okay. Is that a handgun?
Yes, sir.
Who had this silver handgun?
Pablo.
Okay. So when he started fighting Juan, he actually had a gun with him?
Who?
Pablo.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. What happened to the gun?
After that, since Juan was fighting with the other guys, that's when the rest of the guys that were in the truck had came out and they had jumped him, and he had gotten pistol whip on the head.
Okay. So let's slow that down a little bit. At the time that Pablo and Juan are in their fight, And basically, where is this fight taking place?
Right in front of the truck or right behind our car in the back.
Are y'all just out in the middle of the street where y'all had stopped?
Yes, sir.
At the time that Juan and Pablo got into this fight, is there anybody else besides you and Celia by the car, by your car?
Another guy.
Okay.
He was with them.
Do you know who that other guy was?
No, sir. At that time, I didn't know who it was.
Okay. You know who it is now?
Yes, sir.
Who is it?
Trigger.
Trigger, I thought you said it was Pablo, is that correct?
Or, yeah.
So he should have been in the fight with Juan.
Mm-hmm.
Is
You
that
know, I'm
correct
going
or
to
not?
object, I guess, as to how he knows now. If it's hearsay, I
Well,
mean,
I'm going to allow him to proceed with this line of questioning, and we'll see if we can develop it.
So I just want to make sure we're not getting confused. So is Pablo and Juan in the fight?
Yes, sir.
All right. The person who was at the car with you, was that person involved in the fight with Juan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With Pablo?
Yes.
All right. That person who was at your car, though, you said you didn't know who that was then, correct?
No, I didn't know who that was.
All right. But you know a name for that person now?
Now I do.
Do you know what that person's name is now?
Moises.
Okay. Do you know what his last name is?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know whether or not he's related to Pablo?
I didn't know.
Okay. You just knew the name Moises?
After,
The name Moises?
yeah.
Okay. And I'm doing that just for identification so we can keep these people separately. So when Moises is at your vehicle, did you see whether or not he had any weapon with him?
Yeah, he had a handgun.
Okay. What kind of handgun did he have?
I'm not sure what kind of handgun he had.
Okay. What was he doing with his handgun?
He was just pointing the gun at us, my sister and I.
Where are you located at this point?
At that time, I was still on the passenger side.
Front passenger side?
Yes, sir.
Was your door opened or closed next to you?
No, they were close.
When did Juan actually get out of the vehicle?
When they were asking for my name and see who wanted me.
At the time Juan got out of the vehicle, had Moises gotten up to your vehicle to talk to you all?
Yes.
Okay. Besides Juan's door, I assume Juan had to open up his door to get out?
Yes, sir.
All right. Were any other doors opened on your car during this incident besides Juan's?
When Juan had gotten out the car, he automatically just shut the door right behind him. So no doors were open at all.
Okay. How about windows? Were the windows down or up?
Just the driver's side.
What about the driver's side?
His window was down.
All the other windows were up then?
Yes, sir.
At the time that Moises is then there with his gun with you, and is Celia still in the vehicle with you?
Yes, sir.
Where is Juan?
Outside fighting.
Besides Moises at your car and Pablo, who's involved in the fight with Juan, could you see anybody else from the truck?
No, sir.
Okay. What happens now at that point then, while Juan and Pablo are in this fight?
Well, the other guy was with the handgun. He came to us and he went to the window, and my sister had back from the back seat to the front seat, to the driver's side, and that's when the car was still in ignition, and I had told Celia to accelerate or just to go move on.
I'm sorry, say that again, please. You mentioned what?
Told my sister Celia to move on to I guess Florida to go on the car, and by that time a guy had came. He was at the window on our side. He had pulled the gun at my sister's head and told him like where were we going, and he reached in with his hand and turned off the ignition of the car. So he just left the keys in there, but it was just turned off.
You were actually telling Celia to drive the car away?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't want her to get involved in none of this.
Okay. What did you think this was? What was going on at this point?
At this point, it was just like, I guess, gang related.
Okay. Was this like just a gang-related fight?
Yeah.
When was this the person you now know as Moises? And I'm only doing that for identification. But when Moises reached in to turn off the ignition, did he still have the gun in his hand?
Yes, sir.
Where was that gun pointed?
No, my sister said.
after he turned the vehicle off, what happened?
He went back to Juan.
What happened? Well, at this point, Juan's fighting Pablo, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happens when Moises then goes back to Juan and Pablo?
Moises had hit Juan on the head with the gun.
Did you see that?
No, sir.
Then how do you know that happened?
He had told me after all the incident had happened.
He being who?
Juan.
Okay. When he left, when Moises left, the vehicle you were in to go up towards Juan and Pablo, what did you do?
I just stayed in the car and I had told my sister to go, and I had turned on the car back again when he had left the second time. And that's when we had left. And once we were going up the hill with the car, that's when we heard gunshots.
Do you think, did you get over the hill by the time you heard the gunshots, or were you still
We were still going up the hill.
up the hill? All right. How many gunshots did you hear?
I could at least hear like 3 gunshots.
What did you do at that point?
At that point, my sister accelerated and she went up the hill and went back to our house. That's where I had dropped her off. And we had called 911.
Now, your house is, I mean, how far away is that from the scene where all this is happening?
In car distance, it's like 2 minutes, a minute away.
It's basically just across Old Stage Road from where y'all were?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you got back to your house, what did you all do?
My sister, we were already on the phone on the way back to our house. And I had just dropping off my sister, and she stayed on the phone.
With who?
With the 911 that she had called.
Okay. When you heard those gunshots, what did you think happened?
I automatically thought like on my head that I guess he was gone or something like that.
You thought who was gone?
Juan.
So what did you do when you got back to your place?
When I had gotten back, I just had dropping off my sister. I told her just to stay and call and just let everybody know, my family.
And so then what did you do?
When I did, I went back in the car and went back to the scene.
Okay. Why were you doing that?
To see if he, just to go look on him and see if he was alright, and see if the guys had left or were still there.
Yeah. Did you? How did you get back to this scene?
On the car.
Okay. Did you go the same route y'all took to get there when you first went there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what did you see? So you had to go back up that hill and
Yes,
come
sir.
over it again?
Yeah.
So when you finally got to the top of the hill and start coming back down towards the scene, what did you see?
I realized that the car was still there, the truck was still there with all the 4 doors open.
And what happened then?
And after that, I had just turned around and went the other the other entrance to see if the truck was still there while I was just going around. If they would have just hopped back in the car and left or something.
So let's explain that a little bit, because I'm not sure I understand. You come over the top of the hill and you see the white truck with the 4 doors open.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you drive all the way down then where the scene is?
No, I was just up on the top hill.
Okay. So where do you go from the top of the hill?
I reversed back and went back on Old Stage.
Okay. And why did you do that?
Just to see if the car was just leaving or something like that, just to leave the scene.
Why didn't you keep driving up when you saw them in the car you were in?
'Cause I thought they were just gonna come after the car or something like that, so I didn't want them to know I was still up there.
And at this point, had you heard those gunshots from before?
No, just when I was leaving, when we were leaving.
First time?
Yeah.
All right, so when you back up to Old Stage Road, where do you go?
The other entrance that you can go through, since it's like a T, and I went through the other side.
Okay. And what happened when you came in on the other side then?
I could still see that the truck was still there.
So what did you do?
After that, I went back again the same way I went through the first time. That's when I had seen the truck was already gone.
When you finally saw the truck gone, what did you do?
I just stood there, stayed there with Juan, went to Juan.
Well, at this point, did you go down to where he was, or did you stay at the top of the hill?
No, I went down where he was at.
What did you find out when you got down to where Juan was?
That he had a guy in the womb, a gunshot on his, what was it, his right ankle.
Was he still alive when you got to him?
Yes, sir.
And was he able to talk to you?
Yes, sir.
So he wasn't unconscious or anything at that time?
Not really. He was just kind of a little bit of shock, just a gunshot.
What happens after you get back down there to Juan then?
All I seen was just neighbors had just came out their houses since he was laying down on one of the neighbors' front yard, or close to the mailbox. He was just laying there, and someone had helped him and wrapped around his foot since it was bleeding, and he had got some hit on the head, so his head was bleeding as well.
Is that when he told you about being hit with the gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you see him bleeding on his head?
Yes, sir.
What happens at that point?
At that time, the sirens or what you said, the ambulance was coming, and they had taken him and everything, and I was walking back to the house, and that's when the officer had stopped me.
Okay. What happened when the officer stopped you?
He had questioned me about the incident that had happened.
Did you go with Juan to the hospital?
No, sir, my sister did.
Were you busy with the officer at that time?
Yes, sir.
Besides the two people that you've already talked about and identified, Pablo and Moises, did you see anybody else come out of that white truck besides those two?
There were at least like 4 people in the car, in the truck.
How do you know that?
Because all the 4 doors were open. I wouldn't think one person will go out both doors.
But did you see 4 different people?
Not really.
Okay. How many different people did you actually see?
It was, besides the 2 that I saw, just 1 more.
Okay. And where was that person?
In the truck.
Did you ever see that person get out of the truck?
At that time, no.
And was that person on the driver's side or the passenger side of that truck?
No, driver.
And did you see any weapons that that third person may or may not have had?
No, sir.
When you came back, sounds like 2 times you came back to the scene and saw the truck still at the scene. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any of the people from the truck as well, or did you just see the truck?
It was just a truck by itself.
Okay. The third person who was in the scene, did you know who that was?
No, sir.
After talking to the officers then, did you go back to your home on Green Pine? About a month later, on the night of January the 4th or early morning hours of January the 5th of 2013, did you become aware of an incident that occurred at your old residence at 708 Colonial Drive, happened at 708 Colonial Drive?
My cousin had called in. She called me since we used to live. We were like one house over, almost neighbors, in the same parking place. And she had called me and told us that something had happened where I used to live, that a couple had died or someone had went in and shot.
When you heard that?
It might be something related to the same thing that happened before.
Who did you call in? You said you called it in. Who did you call?
Just 911.
All right. And again, why were you doing that?
Because I didn't really know who had gotten killed or what had happened on 708, and I used to live there.
When you called in to 911?
I was involved or have.
Okay. So what happened at that point?
At that point, they just had came down and just questioned and asked about the time that I was living there.
Okay. Were you speaking with some officers and detectives at that time?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize Investigator Barefoot seated behind me?
Yes.
Was he one of the investigators who was talking to you?
Yes, sir. I had told him what had happened on December 4th and stuff like that, but my 708. But what he had told me that period of time that I lived there and stuff like that.
Did you give him or the officers, did you give them the names for shooting where your son got shot?
Yes, sir.
Which name did you give them? Okay. And did you know his real name at that point?
No, sir.
Okay. At this time, specifically in December of December the 4th, 2012, do you know, was there any kind of argument or beef that you were having with Trigger or with Pablo?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know why they would have been calling your name out then?
No, sir.
Did you have any connection to this PRS gang or the Saravia 13 gang prior to that time?
No, sir.
Shortly before the shooting on December the 4th of 2012, did you get into a fight with another member another person who's a member of that gang?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Casper.
Okay. How soon or long, before the shooting took Casper?
It was before the.
How long or soon before?
It was.
Okay. Well, was it over a week before?
It was probably like a month.
A month. All right. And what was the fight with Casper about?
I really wasn't sure. But it was like a night time. And at the house washing dishes in the kitchen, like someone had tossed something or threw it through the window of my sister's room, and I found that and went outside and I saw it was a yellow a van outside going by. So I had gotten out and had recall and told them called them out and stuff like that to just get out the car and come back.
What do you mean by calling them out?
Like just calling to see if they would come back up to where we were at.
Are you yelling at this van as it's going away, telling them to come back?
Yeah, on the window, just yelling at them the why and this and stuff. After that, they had stopped going forward and they just stopped where they were and just reversed a little bit, and that's when they came outside, came out the van.
Okay. And was Casper one of those people who came out of that van?
Yes, sir.
And did you know anybody else who came out with Casper?
Yes, sir.
Who did you know?
The two girls, and since there were two guys and two girls, all four of them.
Okay. How did you know the girls?
I used to date one of them.
Okay. How long did you date that girl?
No more than a year.
Okay.
It's probably less than a year.
When you were dating her, did you know that she was associated with this PRS or Serrano 13 gang?
Yes, sir.
And when had y'all kind of broken off this dating relationship?
Probably like during December and stuff like that. Before.
Just right before this window breaking incident?
Yeah, because she was already with him after all that had happened.
She was already with who?
Well, Casper.
Okay, so is Casper the new boyfriend of
Yeah.
the girl you used to date?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you have to say yes or
Oh, yes.
Do you know whether or not Casper was associated with that same gang, that PRS or Serrano 13 gang?
Yes, sir.
Was he?
Yeah.
So what happened after, just so we know, did you ever find what was thrown through the window?
It was just like a rock.
A rock, okay. So after the rock was thrown through the window and you called out to the van, they get out, what happens?
We just got into a fight, just one-on-one.
Who got into a fight?
Casper and I.
Okay. Were there any weapons involved?
No, sir.
What happened during the fight?
We were just fighting, just going at it, and I had got on top of him and stuff like that, and all I knew was just his face was with blood, where his nose was bleeding.
Okay. Did you suffer any injuries?
Not really, just my elbow, just a little scratch.
So do you feel like you got the better of him during that fight?
Yeah.
the time you had that fight with Casper, did any of the other people that were in the van with him get involved in the fight as well?
One of them was trying to, the other male.
Okay. Was he able to get into the fight with you?
No, sir.
Why not?
My mom's boyfriend was outside as well. He had came outside, and since he's kind of big, probably like 6 foot or something, and he had his shirt off, so he just backed away.
After this fight with Casper, did you ever either talk to him or with your ex-girlfriend about what had happened with the window or the fight?
No, sir.
How about Pablo Trigger that you had mentioned before? Were you keeping in any kind of contact with him during this period of time?
No, sir.
Did you call him or talk to him about either your relationship with this girl or the fight that you had with Casper?
No, sir.
When you came out, after the rock was thrown in the window, when you came out to call them out, did you have any weapons with you?
No, sir.
On the night of December the 4th, 2012, when you and Juan and Celia went to go do the laundry, did you have any weapons with you?
No, sir.
Are there any weapons that y'all keep in that car?
No, sir.
Whose car is that?
My mom's.
Is she the registered owner of that car?
Yes, sir.
How about in the home there at 868 Green Pine Drive? Did y'all have any weapons inside that home? And I'm talking besides like a kitchen knife that you could use for other purposes. I'm talking about something made to be a weapon.
No, sir.
Okay. There were no guns in that house?
No, sir.
After you heard about what happened at 708 Colonial Drive in January of 2013, did you ever go back over there to see it?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, could you walk from your place on 868 Green Pine Drive to where you used to live at 708 Colonial Drive?
Yes, sir.
But you never went back over to go see?
No.
When you used to live at 708 Colonial Drive, who lived there with you?
It was just my girlfriend and I, Juan, and another roommate that used to be in the same room as well.
Sorry, what was his name?
Eduardo.
Oh, so I thought you said another name. Who actually rented that apartment or that place?
His name, well, we call him Chinto, but his name is Jacinto.
Jacinto? Okay. Was he living there at that time as well?
Yes, sir.
So at the time that you were living in this place, how many people altogether were living in it?
Probably like 7 people.
Okay. Out of those 7 people that are living in that residence at that time, how many of them were associated with this VDM gang that you have talked about?
It was just 3 of us.
3? Okay. Were you one of them?
Yes, sir.
Was Juan one of them?
Yes, sir.
And who was the other one?
My girlfriend.
Okay. So Jacinto, the person who rented the place, was he associated with your gang?
No, sir.
Okay. And describe, while we're talking about that, describe basically the BDM gang that you've talked about. What did you all do?
That's in reference to, well, for us it's just like a gang thing, and we're basically off, like we don't associate with anything that's 13. We just flip the number around from 13 to 31.
Well, do you know what 13 is supposed to stand for?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, what is 31 supposed to stand for?
31 for us is just like a number, and we get jumped in and stuff like that. And for us, when we get jumped in, it's 31 seconds instead of 13 seconds.
Okay. So now we need to explain that. First of all, I want you to explain to the jury what you mean by being jumped in.
To get jumped in a gang, stuff like that, you got to get jumped in, and they give you a certain time to see if you can still handle that time. From, let's say, like 3 people or 4 people, they just toss you in, and they just count the seconds, 31 seconds, to see if you're still up or not. And that's how you join the gang. And for the other ones, they're just like 13 seconds. Well, for us, it's like double the time.
But what's happening when you're tossed in with these 3 or 4 people?
They're just like coming at you and just throwing punches at you and stuff, and you just got to defend yourself.
It's like being beaten into the gang, correct?
Yeah.
And that's how you all got either members or initiated members into your gang?
Yes, sir.
Let's break here for lunch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Folks, it's a few minutes after 1. I'm going to release you until 2:30. Please keep in mind the rules. Don't talk about this matter among yourselves or allow anybody to talk about it in your presence. Don't form any opinions about anything that you've heard, and don't conduct any research or investigation. Please, again, no contact with anybody that's participating in this case or is here in support of those participating in the case. And I will remind those that are present in the courtroom that they are not to have any contact with or say anything to any member of the jury. If anything does happen, if you do get contacted or somebody says something to you, just let the bailiffs know and I'll deal with it. I'm going to ask everyone to remain seated while the jury is excused until 2:30. Again, reconvene in the jury room and leave your notebooks there in the chair. Let the record reflect that all members of the jury in the courtroom. Anything we need to address before the break? Or from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Very well, and I do want to remind all people that are here in the courtroom to have absolutely no contact with any jurors. And if if the bailiff hears anything about that, please let me know.
Just as an idea, knowing where the jury room is, they have
Right.
to come out this hallway back here if you want to hold us for just a
Well,
couple
that's
minutes
kind of
and
what
let
I'm
them
doing.
go.
I'm dragging my feet so they can go by. I hear them leaving here. I'll see them walk by in a minute. And you can go ahead and step down.